the most dominant now on the earth and in our surrounding area. No. If you want, Heram, I said if you want, you can join. If you have time, you can join at the evening because it's very interesting chapter. Some video lectures are there. Means mitosis, meiosis phase, and जितने बार करोगे उतना ज़्यादा revise होगा. It's not a wastage, right? In your class also, I'll take cell cycle, cell division. But if you want, you can join. Okay, Hiram. Chalo. So now we are talking about next point, that is the anatomy, right? So next part we are talking about, that is anatomy of flowering plant. We are talking about flowering plant, okay? Means we are talking about the angiosperm, and angiosperm nothing but we have to consider in this chapter what kind of this anatomy present in case of the dicot and what kind of this anatomy present in case of the monocot. So we have to focus on the dicot as well as the monocot. Now when you talk about the chapter anatomy nothing but we are talking about, that is internal study, okay? Because see, last वाला जो chapter था, that is morphology. Morphology means what? We are talking about what we say, the external appearance. But whenever we are talking about, that is anatomy, this anatomy nothing but simply we are talking about, there is a study, that is internal study. Anatomy nothing but we are talking about internal study. Internal study means what? We have to discuss up to tissue level, okay? Tissue or whatever we are talking about the cell. So in this chapter, we'll discuss about few concepts. First of all, in this chapter we'll discuss, in case of this anatomy, what is meaning of tissue. First point. Second point, we discussed the tissue system. The tissue system. So living tissues or dead tissues are there, means parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, etc. etc. Next one, third one, we are talking about, that is different anatomy. Anatomy means what? Internal structure. So we'll discuss anatomy of dicot as well as monocot. Dicot, monocot, and in this anatomy point, detail we discuss in diagrammatic representation. Detail we discuss structure of root, structure of stem, and as well as the structure of the leaf. In this point, anatomy, and the half section of this chapter will discuss secondary growth. Okay, we'll discuss secondary growth. So these are the, in this chapter we have to focus on these four major points. First of all, we discuss tissue. Second point, we discuss the tissue system. Third point, we discuss, that is anatomy, and the last one we discuss about secondary growth. Okay, dicot, monocot means we'll discuss about all these parameters with respect to dicot as well as the monocot. Clear? Okay, so these are the exactly what we say key points of the introduction with respect to chapter anatomy of. Done, guys? Okay, Amal. Next point we are talking about. First of all, we have to discuss about tissue. Okay, so आज हम discuss करेंगे about. Now you know from the lower classes, so many times you discuss about the tissue, right? And what is the tissue? Tissue nothing but these are the group of cell. I'm not taking typical definition because यहाँ से question नहीं बनेगा for the need. So these are the group of cell, right? Definitely, whenever we are talking about the tissue, these are the group of cell. Those are having common function. Those are having common function and common origin. So these are the simplest definition for the tissue. Tissue basically these are the group of cell, right? And that group of cell basically it is having common function as well as the common origin. Now when we are talking about the tissue term, so this term tissue, it's coined by the scientist. Term tissue coined by scientist group. One question, who coined the term tissue? The scientist group coined the term tissue? Yeah, screen is loading. I'll wait for a few seconds. Okay, so one question, who coined the term? Okay, chalo. So now when we are talking about the tissue, simple है, right? So tissue basically it is divided into two types majorly. इसके बहुत से types है आगे. But when we are talking about the tissue basically these are the two types. Number one, meristematic tissue, or simply we are talking about the meristem, and the another one that is permanent tissue. So we are talking about the two types of the tissue. Number one, that is meristem tissue or meristematic tissue, and the another one that is permanent tissue. So now we talk about first point, what is meaning of the meristematic tissue, types of the meristematic tissue on the basis of their function, on the basis of their origin, and we'll discuss what is the basic characteristic features of the meristematic tissue. Okay, chalo. So done this part. Just quickly check. We are talking about some introduction part of tissue. And first of all, we start with the first type, that is meristematic tissue. That is meristem tissue. Okay? Chalo. Should we continue next? Okay, Chaitra. So we are talking about this some common characteristic, and these are the question for your school examination also. Means when we talk about theory paper, that time there is a one question on the meristematic tissue. So you have to. It's very easy. Just you have to remember the point. Just imagine. I am telling you what is the meaning of the meristematic tissue. In animal body, stem cells are present, right? Stem cells. Stem cells means what? Who has the broad potential? Means with the help of the stem cells, we can produce the different types of the cell. We can produce different types of the tissue. Even we can produce the different types of the organ. Similarly, when we talk about the plant, that time inside the plant we have to what? Meristem. And what is the meaning of the meristem? Meristem nothing but these are the one specific type of the tissue who can form, who can develop a different types of the cell, tissue, organ system. Means the meristem they can form a complete plantlet. They having broad potential, potency broad, right? So such type of this condition we are talking about the meristematic tissue. Now, first of all, we are talking about the some property, is some basic property with respect to meristematic tissue. When we are talking about the meristematic tissue, first point, meristematic tissue basically it is retain power of division. First point. It's retain. It consists of power of division. Power of division. First point. What is meaning of the power of division? It has capacity. They undergo cell division. Power of division means what? Simple meaning high rate of cell division. High rate of cell division. So such concepts simply these are called as the power of division because it is having the broad potential. Potency broad, capacity is broad. Okay. So retain or what we say the power of the division it is high. Next one. Take second. Next, and we are talking about the size, basically small in size, and as well as basically these are the thin cell wall is present because it's a very young cell. These are the very small size cell. These are the immature cell, right? So there is a no development of the proper cell wall or cell it is not having the large cells because now they are showing the continuously cell division. Okay, छोटे छोटे groups of cells हैं and they are continuously they are showing the division. So that's why basically these are the small size and as well as the thin cell wall is present. Next point, whenever we are talking about the meristematic tissue is having compact arrangement of the cells. Cells, they are tightly arranged. So next point we are talking about, that is compact arrangement. Compact arrangement of the cell. And in this point of view, clearly we have to mention one point. It is consist of the large nucleus. Nucleus size is comparatively large, and it is consist of the dense protoplasm. Dense protoplasm, right? And you know very well what is meaning of protoplasm. Cell without cell wall means protoplast. And what is meaning of the protoplasm? Nucleoplasm plus cytoplasm, whatever the fluid material is present. So I'm talking about what is meaning of the protoplasm. Protoplasm is equal to cytoplasm. I hope you know what is meaning of cytoplasm. हमने cell chapter में देखा है, right? Cytoplasm plus nucleoplasm. This point also we already discussed in case of cell chapter. So what is meaning of the protoplasm? Whatever the liquid, whatever the fluid material present inside the cell, all those material commonly these are called as the protoplasm. Okay, protoplasm, whatever the liquid, whatever the fluid, including nucleus, including cell organelles, whatever the present inside the cell, that fluid part, these are called as the protoplasm. So when we are using the term meristematic tissue basically it is having large nucleus, dense cytoplasm, right? Cell wall quite thin cell wall is present, and the size of this size also of this that particular cell is particularly small. Now, if you we talk about the compact arrangement of the cell, right? So compact arrangement means what? It is look like this. Suppose these are the group of the cell. Many cells are present, and those are cells, they are compactly arranged. Dense structure. Okay, like this. So such type of this structure, simply these are called as the compactly arranged cell, where each and every cell it is consist of the large nucleus and dense protoplasm. So now what you observe from this diagram, if you see this diagram, clear cut it's mentioned, that is means you can see cells are tightly arranged. It means that intercellular space it is totally absent. Yes, because cells are compactly arranged, cells are having the high rate of division capacity, right? Small size, thin cell wall. But along with that, we have to discuss one point. What kind of the space present? So space here we are talking about, that is space nothing but intercellular space. Intercellular space. So such type of this intercellular space, they are totally absent. One from this point. Remember this point, okay? When we are talking about meristematic tissue, in case of the meristematic tissue, intercellular space are absent because cells are small in size, they are compactly arranged, tightly arranged. That's why what is meaning of the intercellular space? Space between two cells. Inter means what? Intercast. Two different. Cellular means what? Between two cells. So intercellular word represents space between two cells. Okay, space between two cells. So such type of this intercellular space it is absent. Got it? यहाँ तो कोई doubt है? Any doubt from this point? Any doubt? Okay, chalo. Next point, with respect to characteristic features, we are talking about when we are talking about the meristematic tissue. Okay, meristematic tissue. In case of the meristematic tissue, first of all, we are talking about which condition is absent, and then finally we discuss which condition is present. So first of all, we are talking about क्या क्या absent होगा. तो हमने यहाँ पे बात किया. First one, intercellular space is absent. Okay. Second point, vacuole also absent. Vacuole also absent because see, these are the very young cell, right? These are the very small size cell. So there is a no space for the vacuole, because vacuole, these are the larger organelle in plant system. Maximum area it is occupied by the vacuole. But meristem, these are the very young stage. These are the meristematic tissue, small in size. There is a no proper development. Cells are showing continuously cell division. So there is a no vacuole. Vacuole mostly absent in case of the meristematic tissue. Next one, we are talking about organelle which is help for the photosynthesis, like chloroplast. So chloroplast organelle, these organelle also absent. As well as we are talking about plastid. You know plastid means what? We are talking about that is storage material. हमने देखा था ना, leucoplast, amyloplast, proteoplast, right? So such type of this plastid, absent in case of the meristematic tissue. Another one, what condition is absent? Reserved food material. It's very okay. Reserved food material also absent. Reserved food material. There is a no any storage body, no star storage, no sucrose storage. Food को store ही नहीं किया जाता. So here we are talking about that is reserved food material absent, plastid also absent, chloroplast also absent, vacuole absent, intercellular space also absent. And the next point and the last one, we are talking about a molecule that is gastric substance.
Ma'am, your voice is cracking.
Oh, beta. Ergastric substance also they are absent. So what is meaning of the ergastric substance? Now sound is okay?
My voice is cracking.
Cracking? Still cracking? Now tell me, now sound is okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
clear na Madhura? Better?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Oh, okay. Thank you. एक second. चलो कहाँ पे हम? Yeah, so we discuss about list which particle particularly is absent. So we are talking about list that is intercellular space absent, vacuole absent, chloroplast absent, plastidols absent, reserved food material absent, and as well as the ergastric substance also absent. So what is meaning of the ergastric substance? Ergastric substance means we are talking about the secretory substance. Like जैसे होता है ना plant through gum secrete होता है, sometimes mucilage gets secrete, resin gets secrete. So whatever the secretory substance, that secretory substance are called as the ergastric substance. So please write down ergastric, nothing but we are talking about that is secretory substance. And example for the secretory substance: gum, tannin, resin. So these are the few examples which is secreted outside the plant body. Because see, meristematic tissue, these are the very young tissue. These are the very delicate part, right? So now what happened? There is a no require means that it's very small size. So whatever we are talking about the character, it's not a permanent, it's not a mature cell. These are the immature cell, but still they are having high division capacity. So that's why all these features they are totally absent with respect to meristematic tissue. Clear? Clear this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Rishikesh, chalo. Now next point we are talking about, yeah. So हमने यहाँ पे mention किया, see one thing, reserved food material absent है. That meristematic cell is obtain the food because we just clearly mentioned meristematic tissue they are showing high rate of division. Division करेगा मतलब food तो चाहिए, right? And the another one, for the division process there is a requirement of high amount of ATP. And you know very well what is the name of the powerhouse of the cell? The organelle powerhouse of the cell who provide ATP?
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria. Yes. So chloroplast absent, but in case of the meristematic tissue, mitochondria present. तो ये तो पूरी list हो गई. Which part is absent? Now I'm taking list which part is present specifically in case of the meristematic and with their function. Okay, chalo. So should I continue next part? So first of all, we are talking about, definitely we mentioned one point here, that is plastid absent. Plastid absent, yes, but pre-plastid or that is precursor actually, that is called as the proplastid, but proplastid is present. Please underline this word, proplastid. And what is proplastid? Again cracking. Now it's okay, better or worst?
I'm still cracking.
Only for you. Janil, it's for you or for all?
It's not clear, ma'am.
Okay, Sania, okay. Now tell me, what is the quality of sound? अभी क्लियर है पक्का? Okay, okay. Yeah, just 1 second. Now sound clear है ना पक्का? Pranil. Okay, chalo, good. If you have any feel, you can tell me immediately. Yeah, chalo. So we are talking about which part? Which part is present? Okay. So in case of the meristematic tissue, first of all, plastid absent, right? But proplastid is present. What is meaning of the proplastid? Proplastid, nothing but we are talking about something a precursor cell. Precursor means what? Something origin, or we can say something initiation part. Precursor. So there is a precursor cells are present. So one question, definitely plastid mostly it is present in mature cell, which is having the well developed, or when we talk about the permanent cells, so plastid is present, that like leucoplast, amyloplast. But when you are talking about the meristematic tissue, plastid absent, but their juvenile stage, their young stage, or their small stage, of plastid, or the initial stage of the plastid, which is the immature, which is the precursor stage called as the proplastid. Proplastid is present in case of the meristem. Okay. Now, another point we discuss, in case of the meristem, reserved food material is absent. हमने अभी discuss किया, right? So reserved food material is absent. So question is that then how food it is coming? Because see, already meristematic cell basically they are not having the green color. They are compactly arranged. They are very small size. Does not having well developed system because they don't having the chloroplast, right? So chloroplast absent, reserved food material absent. So how they obtain the food? So clear cut. Whenever we are talking about the meristematic tissue, definitely reserved food absent. Organelle, photosynthetic organelle, that organelle simply we say that is chloroplast organelle. This chloroplast organelle also absent, but meristematic tissue they having high surface area. Okay, meristematic tissue they having high surface area, and with the help of that high surface area they can uh, take the food from the surrounding cell, or we can say from the outside the cell. So simply we are talking about reserved food material absent, chloroplast absent, but high supply sorry, high supply of food from outside. Outside means what? Surrounding area. So meristematic tissue so meristematic tissue they have high surface area. Simple, straightforward. So obviously क्या होगा यहाँ पे, if surface area is high, it means that whatever the surrounding cells are present, that surrounding cells they provide the food to the meristematic, because meristematic tissue they lack the chloroplast, right? It means they are not in green color, so they are not capable for the photosynthesis. Even they does not have the reserved food material. So whatever the food required, all those food it is coming from outside of the cell. Surrounding cell provide food, they supply the food to the meristematic tissue, and that's why meristematic tissue they can initiate cell division process. Got it? Okay, clear this point? Clear? Okay, Shifa. Okay, should I continue next point? Last point with respect to meristematic tissue, number of the mitochondria. Because just we discuss one point, cells are showing high cell division. तो obviously division कर रहा है मतलब एक तो उसको food चाहिए, food supply by the surrounding tissue. And now what happened? Definitely they required energy in the form of ATP, right? So next point, for whatever the activity is going on, because meristematic tissue they are highly active, they are showing continuously cell division, right? So that's why on the basis of that we are talking about next point, rate of cell division is high. Cell division rate is quite high. So this arrow, upper arrow represent the high condition, okay? Cell division rate is high, right? So if cell division high, it means that energy also required in high amount. Yes, requirement of the energy also, these are the present in high amount. And the energy nothing but we are talking about which form of the energy? ATP, right? Because ATP these are the what we say energy currency of the cell. Maximum in plant or even in case of the animal, whatever the energy source which is involved in most of reaction, चाहे हम muscle contraction करें, means during the muscle contraction relaxation, even we are doing any muscles activity, or whatever we are talking about the movement, हम cell cycle में देखेंगे movement of cell organelles, etc etc, whatever the function is performing, most of the places ATP it is required as a energy source, because ATP is a energy currency, right? So definitely cell division high rate में हो रहा है. Requirement of this energy also high, and that's why number of the mitochondria, that's why in case of the number of mitochondria, because mitochondria, these are the powerhouse of the cell who provide the ATP. So on the basis of that, clear cut we mentioned, that is number of the mitochondria, they are also high. It's not no, okay? We are talking about number. Please write down. It's a number. बाद में गड़बड़ कर दोगे then. Number of the mitochondria, these are the high. So we clearly mentioned one point. Which organelle present? Definitely we are talking about large size of nucleus present, dense protoplasm also present, and here clearly we talk about that is mitochondria also present, because for the cell division process ATP required, and who provide this ATP? Mitochondria. So that's why inside the meristematic tissue, number of the mitochondrial cells, they are present in high amount. Got it? Okay. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है चलो. Now next point we are talking about, suppose we are talking about there is mitochondria number is high, it means that ATP is present in high amount, right? So on the basis of that, we can say this point, if, okay, if I'm talking about, if ATP production is high amount, it means that respiratory activity, more specific we are talking about cellular respiratory activity. So ATP high, it means that cellular respiration also it is present in high amount. And what is meaning of the cellular respiration? Normal, whenever we are talking about the respiration, that is breathing process, inhale and the exhale process, right? But when we are talking about the cellular respiration in plant, clear cut meaning means we are talking about that is breakdown of food. What is meaning of the cellular respiration? Simple meaning is that is breakdown of food, right? So definitely what happen? Surrounding cell, they provide the food, they supply the food, right? Meristematic tissue, they having the high surface area, they uptake the food from the surrounding tissue, right? Now what is the food means what? That is in the form of glucose. For example, they uptake the glucose undergo the breakdown, right? Means food undergo the breakdown, and once there is a food undergo the breakdown, now that time again we obtain high amount of energy in the form of ATP. Okay, so simply here meaning, if ATP production is high, it means that number one, number of the mitochondria, it is present in high amount, and as well as we are talking about that is number of, or what do we say, rate of cellular respiration. And what is meaning of cellular respiration? Breakdown of food, breakdown whatever we are providing. For example, plant are taking glucose, plant are taking starch, plant are taking sucrose, whatever the source is available as a food source. So that food, it is undergo the breakdown, and you know very well, when we are taking food, ultimately we obtain energy, right? And basic energy source, that is ATP, because it's an energy currency. Clear? Clear this point? So these are the some basic characteristic features with respect to meristematic tissue. 3 marks question actually. And you have to mention each and every point. Just try to understand, okay? Just imagine karo, meristematic means something a young, compactly arranged. Just prepare an image in front of you. So if your image is created, if you create the image, ultimately you can understand how to remember that thing. Because if you read, you will forget. So try to create something, a key point or something, a imagination point in when class is going on. So definitely it will help you. Okay, done this part. Done. Okay, chalo. So all these are the some basic information with respect to meristem. Just quickly check हमने क्या क्या देखा. We start with the anatomy, internal study, tissue system, anatomy, dicot, monocot. These are the key point. Then we discuss tissue term coined by the scientist Group. Then we discuss types of the tissue. Now we clearly discuss some characteristic features with respect to meristematic tissue. First we discuss common point. Then we discuss which part is absent, and then we discuss which part is present. Got it? So it's very clear cut scenario, and it's very easy. Yeah. So should I continue the next part? चलो शुरू करें नेक्स्ट वन. मंगेश, यश, वैभवी. चलो. So now next point we are talking about types of meristem. Write down the title. Types of meristem. And these types of meristem now depend upon types of meristem depend upon. First point we discuss depend upon origin, and second point we discuss depend upon position, means where such type of these meristems are present. Okay, so we are talking about the types of meristem depend upon, first of all, origin, and the number second we are talking about depend upon the position. Okay, now on the basis of the origin we'll discuss there is a presence of the primary meristem, and the second one we'll discuss secondary meristem. It's depend upon the origin. नाम से पता चल रहा है primary means what? They form first, they originate first. That's why we are talking about the primary. Secondary means what? They form at the later stage. हाँ ऋषिकेश. Okay. Okay. So I'll do one thing. मैं erase नहीं कर रही हूँ ये part. I kept as it is. Okay. If I erase, then everything is gone. Yeah. Okay. So on the basis of the origin, we are talking about that is primary meristem, means they form first. We discuss that part later when differentiation part. And secondary means they form later. Similarly, when we are talking about on the basis of the position, right, types of the meristem, on the basis of the position, first of all, we discuss that position. These are the apical position. Apical means what? Apex position. Apex means what? Tip position. Okay. Apex, or simply you can say tip. Apical position, that is tip position, apex position. Number second point, intercalary position, that is intercalary between two something, like it is get sandwich, intercalary between something. And the another one, that is last one, that is lateral meristem. So on the basis of the position we discuss the three types of the meristem. Number one, apical meristem. Apical represent the apex or the tip. Intercalary meristem, and the next one, that is lateral meristem. Okay, so now we start with the first part, origin. On the basis of origin, what is meaning of the primary meristem and what is meaning of the secondary meristem. Whatever the notes is going on, please write down as it is. Table होगा तो table draw करो. Is this diagram is there, please draw the diagram, because if you read NCERT कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा, because it's totally mashed up in NCERT. Okay, so these are the better way, because now we are start from the very basic, and one by one we clear concepts and then we go toward the upward direction. If you read directly NCERT आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा. So for this chapter you have to refer my notes, and after that you read NCERT. Okay, chalo, once you done, please tell me. Done?
Done, ma'am.
Okay, chalo. So now divide your page into two sections. First of all, we'll discuss about what is the difference between the primary meristem and the secondary meristem. So first of all, we are talking about primary meristem. Word primary you can write down like this, but please don't in paper. यहाँ पे चल सकता है because we are writing in class notebook, so that is okay. But when you are writing in paper, you have to write down primary word. Okay, don't give this symbol. Similarly, whenever we are talking about the secondary, you can use this symbol. But when you write a theory paper, you have to write down secondary word. Got it? So primary meristem and secondary meristem. So first of all, we discuss all information about the primary because it's one point it is linked to second and second it is linked to third. And then we talk about the secondary. Chalega? Because first of all, we discuss what is the initial developmental growth. That is primary meristem. Should I start? This point is very very important, okay? Because ये समझ में ही नहीं आया ना, 12th standard में एक chapter समझ में नहीं आएगा because in 12th standard also we discuss the same part repeatedly. So you have to focus right now. Continue. Should I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है, चलो. So now first of all we talk about the primary meristem. Whatever the information is given, we have to discuss about the primary meristem. In case of the primary meristem, first of all we are talking about how they get originate. Origin के बारे में पहले बात कर रहे हैं. So definitely whenever we are talking about the primary meristem, they are derived directly from embryo. First one is embryo, or they are directly derived from derivative of embryo. और derivations कहने से अच्छा हम कहते हैं कि other related cells of embryo better, or related cells of embryo. हम आगे देखेंगे when we talk about there is a inside the embryo suspensor present होगा. Now there is a cotyledon, hypocotyledon, different parts are there. So whenever we are talking about the primary meristem, clear cut that primary meristem, they form first, they present at the beginning stage. And now what happened? Beginning stage means we are talking about which part? We are talking about the embryo part, because you know very well after the fertilization zygote banega, and zygote it is further converted into embryo. So embryo basically these are the example of the primary meristem. Okay, because it's a form at the early developmental stages. So these are the first point. Number one, we are talking about how that meristematic primary meristem it is get developed. Now next point, whenever we are talking about the primary meristem, second point, okay, just draw one line. Primary meristem present plus sign, present in plant from beginning. It is present from the beginning because see, plant is having very juvenile stage. Plant is very young. मान लो कि कोई seed है. Suppose there is a one seed. Seed undergo the process of the germination, right? After the germination, now slowly that seed they form root, they form a shoot system. So that is the initial part. That is the beginning part, right? And now what happened? Whatever we are talking about, the primary meristem, they are associated, they are present during the early developmental stages. They are present at the beginning of the cell developmental stages. Okay, and the next point, we are talking about what is the function of such type of the primary meristem. Third point, we are talking about function. So for the function, we have to give some flowchart information. Now what happened? Basically, some cells of the primary meristem, they are showing cutting, means they just cut, and after they cut, they just lose the division capacity. And once they lose the division capacity, they finally convert it into primary permanent tissue. So I'll give some flowchart so you will get the clear cut idea. Suppose try to understand. Okay, थोड़ा सा समझना पड़ेगा, but if you understood, once you understood, then everything is okay. So focus on the board. I'll give the time for the writing. Okay, पहले यहाँ पे देखो. Suppose we are talking about there is a presence of the proplastid. क्या present है यहाँ पे? There is a presence of the proplastid. Proplastid basically these are the present during the juvenile stage, right? These are the present during the young stage. So proplastid it is example of the primary meristem, because proplastid it is associated with the meristem. It is a precursor one. Now what happened after the some time? Such proplastid they are converted into chloroplast. किसमें convert होगा? Definitely it is converted into chloroplast at the later stage, right? Chloroplast. And chloroplast means what? Now it is become green in color. They are performing the function that is photosynthesis, right? Means this chloroplast nothing but you can say it is converted into one specialized cell, right? It is a one type of the specialized cell, special cell. This is the one type of the specialized cell, and such type of this specialized cell simply you can say it is converted into primary permanent tissue. किसमें convert हो गया? It is converted into primary permanent tissue. I'm repeating this point again. इसको highlight करो, this one. Primary meristem it is converted into primary permanent tissue. Got it? Primary meristem these are converted into primary permanent tissue, right? Permanent tissue means what? The permanent tissue means the tissue or the cell who having a specific function. उसका size कुछ तो fix होगा. They are performing a specific type of the function, right? So when we are talking about the proplastid does not having any specific function. They are just present inside the cell. But when that proplastid it is undergo growth, they undergo the maturation. After the maturation, they convert it into chloroplast. And when we are talking about the chloroplast, these are the green color plastid. Yes or no? Chloroplast is a green color plastid, and the major function, these are the specialized cell, special type ka cell hai, who performing the function photosynthesis, right? So now what happened? That primary meristem में किसमें convert हो गया? Primary meristem it is converted into primary permanent tissue, and whatever the steps, these are the steps where primary meristematic tissue it is converted into primary permanent tissue. Such step simply these are called as differentiation. What we say? Simply we are talking about this process basically it is called as the differentiation process. I'm repeating this point again. Listen carefully. Side by side you can start writing. So we are talking about what is the meaning of the primary meristem. Primary meristem they form at the beginning stage, during the early stage, because it's very young stage. जब plant juvenile होगा, plant is very young, plant is very small, that time primary meristem is developed. That's why we are talking about primary. Now whenever we are talking about the primary, inside the meristem हमने देखा कि proplastid present था. Yes, inside the primary meristem proplastid is present, which is example of the primary meristem. Such primary meristem, that is proplastid, they undergo differentiation process. Which process? Differentiation. And after the differentiation process, they can form a organelle, well-developed organelle, who having a specific type of the function, who is a very specialized function, or these are the specialized cell. So proplastid, further it is converted into chloroplast, right? And once it is converted into chloroplast, now it is converted into primary permanent tissue. So for the simplicity, I'm writing some part here. Simple meaning है primary meristem these are converted into primary permanent tissue. Primary permanent tissue. Okay, primary common है, बस meristem it is converted into permanent tissue. And such process, this process simply it is called as the differentiation process. It's get differentiation, okay, differentiation process. And I'm talking about what is meaning of the differentiation. Differentiation, nothing but we are talking about the cell who lose division capacity. Cells lose, they lose cell division capacity. Okay, cell division capacity. So such type of this step, basically it is called as the differentiation. And whenever we are talking about primary meristem, yes, primary meristem is present at the beginning, and further it is undergo the differentiation process, and after the differentiation process it is converted into primary permanent cell or primary permanent tissue. Got it? Any doubt? हम आगे जैसे जैसे एग्जांपल देखेंगे ना, you will get the clear cut idea. Any doubt? Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
खाना ज्यादा हो गया क्या? हाँ, लंच ज्यादा कर लिया? Okay, yeah, done. So I'm giving you a simple example. Just imagine leaf is present, leaf contains form a present, a very small size leaf. Okay, that leaf they undergo the expansion. Leaf is present, very small size leaf, very आपने देखा होगा that leaf it is completely fold. But once it is increase their size, now that leaf it is completely expand. Leaf lamina they completely expand. So now what happen? That leaf having a particular size. बराबर है ना, एक साइज तक क्यों एक्सटेंड होगा, उसके बाद तो नहीं होगा. For example, if you are talking about the mango leaves they can extend up to few centimeter, what is their standard size. But after that, what happen? They can immediately become yellow. Now it is become dry, and they get fall down, right? Because size of that leaf, that is a particular age. Because once there is a formation of the leaf, that leaf it is become differentiation. Now I'm talking about what is the meaning of the differentiated cell. हमारी बॉडी के जितने भी सेल्स है, फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द हेयर सेल्स or skin cells, kidney cell, neuron cells, everything. All these are called as a differentiated cell. Differentiated cells means what? The cells who never undergo the division. कभी ऐसे हुआ है कि चलो there is a formation of the hair and that same hair it is undergo the division? ऐसा नहीं होता. Inside our body there is a something a precursor cells. For example, hair follicle cells. So that hair follicle cell, only those cells undergo the division because these are the one kind of the stem cells. Similarly, once there is a formation of the skin, now after the 21 days, that old skin they get removed, new skin get formed, because skin also it is never undergo the process of the division. So what is meaning of the differentiated cell? In case of the animal, in our body, maximum cells in our body, maximum cell they are differentiated cell. आपके बॉडी के ऊपर आपको जितने भी सेल्स विजुअलाइज हो रहे हैं, nail, hair, skin cell, all these are the differentiated cell. And what is meaning of the differentiated cell? The cell who lose division capacity. तो प्लांट में भी ऐसे ही होगा, राइट? हालांकि प्लांट में it is having the very broad potential, because that's why plant it is showing the continuous growth. We'll discuss that part later in secondary meristem. But normally what happen? What is the meaning of the differentiation part? The cells who lose cell division capacity. Got it? Okay, Yash? I hope it's clear now. Okay, chalo. Now all this information about the primary meristem. Now we are talking about next part with respect to secondary meristem. Okay, chalo. So back to pavilion. We are talking about secondary meristem. First of all, we are talking about how they get originate. Then second point, we are talking about how they form, and finally we discuss about the function. Normally what happen, primary meristem form हुआ. Primary meristem, they undergo the process of the differentiation, and after the differentiation they form a primary permanent tissue or primary permanent cell. So normally what happen when you talk about secondary meristem, right? Secondary meristem, so that secondary meristem, it is derived from primary meristem. So simply I'm talking about, that is primary permanent tissue. Primary permanent tissue, they undergo the process of de-differentiation. D. They undergo the process of de-differentiation, and after the de-differentiation process, they formed secondary meristem. What they form? They form a secondary meristem. मतलब क्या हो रहा है देखो, quickly I'll tell you. In primary meristem, what is the last sentence? What is the last point? This one. Primary permanent tissue, right? Same, this primary permanent tissue, it is get entered into this step. It is entered into this step. This one. As it is. Same primary permanent tissue. They undergo the process of the de-differentiation, and after the de-differentiation, they form a secondary meristem. So what is the meaning of the de-differentiation? Regain cell division capacity. पहले तो लूज हो गया था. During the differentiation, cell division capacities get loose. So what is meaning of the de-differentiation? De-differentiation nothing but that is regain. Again they achieve. Regain cell division capacity. Okay? Regain. फिर से वापस हुआ. I'll take this part commonly later. Differentiation, de-differentiation. But here try to understand. Primary permanent tissue form हुआ. For example, we are talking about the chloroplast, which is a primary permanent tissue because it is having the, why we say permanent? Because it has a specific type of the function. That's why we are talking about the permanent. Suppose that primary permanent tissue is there. That primary permanent tissue, it is undergo the de-differentiation. What is meaning of the D? Regain. Regain cell division capacity. जो पहले lose हो गई थी. Now they again obtain that division capacity. Regain cell division capacity. So that process basically is called as de-differentiation process. Okay. And second point, where these are the form, where such type of the secondary meristem is present. So that secondary meristem, they form at the later stage of plant development. Second point, ये कब form होगा? So definitely secondary meristem, they get formed at later developmental stages. Stage of plant development. Okay, so just check the scenario. We discussed primary meristem. They are present at the beginning of the cell. When cell is when plant is very small, when cells are very small, that time primary meristem is present. But now what happened? Once there is a later stage. Later stage means what? Now that plant there is a wood formation is get initiated. Plant now they increase their girth, or whatever we are talking about, plant they are increase their diameter. That time such type of the secondary meristem they start initiate. Got it? Next point, third one, we are talking about function. Chalo, once you're done, please tell me. That
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है. So now I'm talking about the function. यहाँ से हम start करें, okay? Here we discuss secondary meristem. Now, first we discuss one point. Whatever the secondary meristems are present, secondary meristem. Secondary meristem, again, they undergo the process of redifferentiation. अब यहाँ पे re आ गया. Listen, they undergo the process of the redifferentiation. Redifferentiation process. And finally, they produce secondary permanent tissue. Finally, they produce secondary permanent tissue. So secondary meristem, they undergo the further development. The developmental process, nothing but we are talking about redifferentiation, and this redifferentiation, nothing but finally they are converted into secondary permanent tissue. And when we are talking about the secondary permanent tissue, basically these are the specific modified, specific as well as these are the modified tissue. And when we are talking about the process, that is redifferentiation, meaning of the redifferentiation, that is again lose cell division capacity. Again lose cell division capacity. समझिए आप तीन कॉन्सेप्ट देखें, डिफरेंशिएशन, redifferentiation, redifferentiation. ठीक है. So collectively I'll talk later with example, so we'll get better understand. So just remember this point. Major function what? Secondary meristem, they produce the secondary permanent. अभी examples हम यहाँ पे include नहीं कर रहे because it's create a complication. So further when you talk about the secondary xylem, secondary phloem, that time you clear get idea. But just remember, primary meristem they present at the initial stage, and secondary meristem they form at the later stage. चलो, done. Done. हो गया? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, done.
Done ना? ठीक है. I know थोड़ा सा complicated लगेगा, but this chapter according to NEET point of view it's very 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 important chapter. ठीक है. Morphology नहीं किया चलेगा, but you have to do anatomy because NEET favorite chapter है, and maximum question means maximum is 3 to 4 question coming from this chapter. So you have to practice it very good. And it's very easy chapter. एक बार आपको समझ में आ गया ना, where you have to use primary and where you have to use word secondary, सब कुछ easy है because each and everything it is coming repeatedly. बार बार वही concept आता है. Primary meristem, secondary meristem, primary, secondary, right? चलो. Now these are the some basic point. चलो. So last point. Next one. We are taking the another. So we discussed the one common function. Now I'm talking about the specific function. So specific function with respect to primary meristem, उसी column को continue करना है, means differentiation part, and specific function with respect to secondary meristem. ठीक है. Now first of all we are talking about the primary meristem. Now when we are talking about the primary, just we discuss primary meristem they form during the early developmental stages, right? When they form during the early developmental stages. So when we are talking about the function, basically Primary meristem, they are responsible for increased length of plant organ. What is the main function of the primary meristem? They are responsible for increase the length of plant organ, because you know very well, seed is present, seed undergo the germination. Now slowly that seed they form shoot system, that seed they form a root system. So slowly that height, or what we say, that is the length of that plant, it is showing increase, it's continuously increase. Why? Because that plant they present at the initial stage, initial growing stage, because primary meristem is get involved, right? So whenever we are talking about the कॉमन फंक्शन मीन्स एक ही फंक्शन आपको एक्सप्लेन करना है. सो व्हाट इज द मेन फंक्शन? दे आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर increased length of the plant organ. Got it? Length of the increase the length of the plant organ. And similarly, whenever we compare this point with the secondary meristem, so अगर एक ही function आपको बताना है, only single function, so remember that secondary meristem they form at the later stage. Later stage means what? Plant obtain proper height, plant obtain leaf number, branches, everything is okay. Now we have to increase the diameter, trunk size increase hoga, right? Now that plant they increase the wood formation, so that time we are talking about the secondary part. So main function of the secondary meristem, they increase girth, or you can say diameter, girth or diameter of plant. Because when you say that is diameter is increases, that is trunk size increase, wood number is increased, because it is a later stage, because plant they obtain the sufficient height, they obtain the sufficient number of the branches, they obtain the sufficient number of the leaf, etc etc. Now secondary growth hoga, means wood formation, formation of the bark, right? That is outermost layer, हम आगे देखेंगे इसको slowly. So formation of the bark, secondary xylem formation, wood formation. So that is a part of the later stage of the life. That's why we are talking about secondary meristem. If you want to mention a single function, the single function, they are responsible for girth of the plant. They increase the girth. Got it?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Huh?
Could you please zoom out a bit?
Huh. Increase length of the plant and increase girth of the plant. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
हो गया? ठीक है, चलो. Should we continue next part? These are the so these are the difference between the primary meristem and the secondary meristem. Done? Differentiation part is over. हाँ बच्चा, done this part.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
एक ही
ma'am.
बच्चा बात कर रहा है. What about other? Anam, Chaitra, Divyanka, Gaurav, Ishan, Janil, Raghavi, Mark Stone, Sakshi, Sanika, Saniya, Sanjana, सानवी. सारी एस की इतनी लंबी लाइन है. दूसरा कोई अल्फाबेट नहीं मिला क्या नाम के लिए? Okay, chalo. So quickly I revising this part. Differentiation, de-differentiation, redifferentiation, because it's very important point. Because if you read book, बहुत कचरा दिया हुआ है. हमें इतना ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेशन वाला पार्ट नहीं देखना है. We just try to understand, because हमें क्वेश्चन सॉल्व होने से मतलब है. So first of all we are talking about, suppose there is a presence of the primary meristem. ठीक है, primary meristem. These primary meristem, they further convert into primary permanent tissue. So primary meristem, it is converted into primary permanent tissue, and this process, simply these are called as differentiation.
Ma'am, we have to write this.
हाँ, obviously लिखो ना, एक साथ हो जाता है ना. This process, it is called as the differentiation. And what is meaning of the differentiation? Loose cell division capacity. Lose cell division capacity. Actually, this part is again repeated in 12th standard. That's why I'm taking it repeatedly. Lose cell division means they lose cell become differentiated. Primary permanent tissue. Okay. Now suppose this primary permanent tissue. Okay. Now we are talking about they undergo next step, that is de-differentiation. They undergo the process of the de-differentiation. What is meaning of the de-differentiation? That is regain cell division capacity. Regain cell division capacity. Now what happened? Same this primary permanent tissue. Now after the differentiation process, they convert it into secondary meristem tissue. Because they regain the division capacity, and when we are talking about the meristematic tissue, definitely meristematic tissue they having the high rate of division, so again they regain the division capacity. यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? Similarly here we are talking about that primary meristem tissue, secondary meristem tissue. Now finally they converted into secondary permanent tissue. Finally they convert into secondary permanent tissue, and now see such process again they called as the redifferentiation. This step basically it is called as the redifferentiation. What is meaning of the re? It means that again cells or the tissue lose cell division capacity. पहले lose किया हुआ था during the differentiation, but again they lose. So we are talking about again lose cell division capacity. Okay, so please remember this point. Primary meristem converted into primary permanent tissue. Primary permanent tissue converted into secondary meristem tissue. Secondary meristem tissue is converted into secondary permanent tissue. Got it? Got it? Steps याद रखो बस. We'll explain this part again and again, because when we talk about the secondary growth हमें यही देखना है. Primary meristem, then primary permanent, secondary meristem, that secondary permanent. So we'll discuss in this point. We discuss total 3 concepts. Number 1, that is differentiation. Number 2, de-differentiation. Number 3, redifferentiation. चलो हो गया ये. Okay, chalo. So all these are the type on the basis of their origin, primary and the secondary. Now we are talking about types of meristem based on position. Second part. Chalo, write down the title. We are talking about second part, that is types of meristem that is based on their position. And we just write down some point, that is 3 types: apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and the another one that is lateral meristem. Okay, so first of all we are talking about apical meristem. पहले हम apical meristem के बारे में बात करेंगे. Then we discuss about second one, intercalary meristem. Means we'll discuss this part, something it is get sandwich, that's why it is called as the intercalary. And the third one we are talking about, that is lateral meristem. Okay, if I'm talking about, यहाँ पे अगर हमें बताना होगा, so this apical meristem as well as the intercalary meristem, these are the example of the primary meristem. It is come under the primary meristem. because apical meristem, it is present at the beginning stage, even intercalary also present at the beginning stage. So both these are the part of the primary meristem. But when we are talking about the lateral meristem mostly these are the part of the secondary meristem. These are the come under the secondary meristem, because when we are talking about the lateral meristem, now the bark get developed, wood part get developed, trunk size get developed, so that is a different scenario. So lateral meristem, it is formed at the later stage. hmm? Chalo. So first of all we are talking about number one type, apical meristem. And definitely apical meristem means we are talking about which position? Apex position, apical position, tip position. So now we are talking about the apical meristem. It is divided into two types. Apical meristem, they divide into two types. Number one, we are talking about SAM, and SAM it is compared with the RAM. SAM, RAM. Okay. Long form for the SAM, shoot apical meristem. SAM stand for shoot apical, apical that is apex, tip area. Shoot apical meristem, that is SAM. And the number second, that is RAM. RAM stand for root apical meristem. Position same. We are talking about the apex position, right? Tip position. So on the position, on the shoot apical area, some kind of the different meristem are present. At the root apical meristem, such kind of the different meristem are present. So we are talking about that is two types of this meristem, root and shoot apical meristem. So please divide your page into two sections. Now we are taking the difference between RAM and SAM. Chalo, please divide your page. First of all, we are talking about the apical meristem based on their position. So if meristem, apical
Excuse
meristem
me, ma'am.
present at the, huh?
Ma'am, I just lost the connection. Could you please scroll up?
Done? इतना ही चाहिए ना?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you want some more?
Yeah, ma'am.
हुई गवा?
Yes, ma'am, done.
Chalo. So first of all, we are talking about SAM, RAM. Very simple. Whenever we are talking about the SAM, that is shoot apical meristem. So first of all, we are talking about what is the position. First point, that is position. So position, basically SAM, it is present at the terminal. What is the position? That is terminal. Terminal means what? Exactly on the tip. Terminal position. So terminal position, that is called as the area where shoot apical meristem are present. But when you compare this point with RAM, with root apical meristem, so in case of the root apical meristem, now the position basically it is subterminal. It is not terminal, it is subterminal. How? देखते हैं कैसे. Now whenever we are talking about the shoot, suppose ये area है, these are the SAM area, means these are the part of the shoot. You know very well shoot means I am talking about the aerial part, okay, top part. पता है ना shoot कहाँ पे present होता है? It is present above the soil. Aerial part है shoot. Shoot gives rise to leaf, shoot gives rise to branches, shoot gives rise to stem part. So we are talking about the shoot part, right? So whenever we are talking about the shoot, just remember the any young part, right? So that whatever we are talking about, all these are the tip area. ये जो पूरा tip area है, these are the called as the SAM. So suppose I'm talking about these are the green color. This green color, nothing but these are the area for the SAM. So if you see the exactly position, so position for this SAM, it is present at the terminal. Terminal means what? Exactly tip के ऊपर present है. Exactly on the tip, above the soil, on the tip. But when you compare this point with the root that is root apical meristem, it is not present at the terminal. Now I'm talking about bottom. Previous part. So when we are talking about the root, in case of the root, we have to draw a diagram like this. ये root का structure है. Suppose these are the structure of root. I'm talking about the below soil, okay? And now what happen? Root, it is covered with the root cap. तो ये जो structure है ना, these are called as the root cap. So root cap, it is present at the terminal. It is present at the apical position. Basically, these are the apical position. Who present inside the root? Who present at the apical? Who present at the apex position? We are talking about that is root cap present at the apical position. And what is the function of the root cap? Root cap basically involved the protection. What is the main function? That is, it is involved in protection. So protection of root. These are the function of this root cap. Basically. So you know very well, inside the soil particles are present, right? That soil particle might be when that root, it is showing growth towards the gravity. So it's very delicate cell. So might be possible due to friction force or due to any that root cell, it is get damaged. So we don't want to damage that cell. So now what happen? Tip of the root cell. Okay, हम soil के अंदर वाली बात कर रहे हैं अभी, हम root के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. Imagine tip of the that root, they covered with the cap. And what is the main function of that root cap? Protection of the root, which is present at the apex. So now what happened? Apex pe present hoga which area? That is, there is a presence of the root cap. And now what happened? यहाँ पे this one, ये जो हम बात करें यहाँ पे, this one, these are the area. This area, these are called as the area for the ram. Ram means what? Root apical meristem. So that's why we are talking about what is the position of the ram? Subterminal. Because at the terminal, or what we say at the apical position, there is a presence of subterminal. ये terminal दिखते थे यहाँ पे. So at the terminal position, in case of the root cap is present, and above the root cap, there is a presence of the root apical meristem. See, I'm talking about the meristem. Meristem का मतलब क्या है? They can form all type of the cell which is present in root. Similarly for the SAM. What is the meaning of SAM? Shoot apical meristem. They can form all types of the cell which is present in shoot. आगे देखेंगे कौन कौन से cells होते हैं. But these are the very basic. ये first point है. And neat favorite question coming from position of the ram, because something different है. नाम से देखो तो ऐसे लगता है कि root apical meristem, so it is present at the apical position, it is present at the terminal, it is present at the tip, but ऐसा नहीं होता. In case of the root cap present at the terminal position. That's why position of ram, position of the root apical meristem, क्या होगा इसका आंसर? Subterminal. Got it? Subterminal. So question coming from ram. SAM से question नहीं बनेगा, because clear cut in word it is mentioned apical position. So there is a no any rocket science, but we have to understand ram. Definitely नाम क्या है? Root apical meristem. But position for the ram, it is not terminal, it is not apical position, it is present at the subterminal area. Got it? Got it? Yes or no? Please tell me quickly.
Yes,
Sure?
ma'am.
Okay, chalo. Last point and then we stop here. We are talking about the size. So first of all, we are talking about SAM size. Size of SAM, that is root apical meristem. Shoot apical meristem. Size of the SAM is approximately 1 centimeter. And whenever we are talking about size of this ram, it is quite short. And size is approximately 1 millimeter, 1 mm. Only 1 mm area it is covered. So obviously, clear cut scenario hai. SAM basically these are the long in size. And whenever we are talking about ram, these are the short in size. Got it? Okay? Simple. So shoot apical meristem, they covered more area, that is approximately 1 centimeter. And when you compare this point with root apical meristem, so that root apical meristem basically they can cover approximately 1 mm size. Chalo, done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, chalo. So any doubt from today's class? आगे continue करना है. A few part is left, means function and the origin of RAM SAM. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, chalo, ठीक है. So with this we end today's session. Further part will continue in next class. Yeah. Thank you so much.